Hello, this is Liz Coyle, and it's my pleasure to give you a short briefing on HBA's new operating model. During the next 15 minutes, we'll explain the design of the new regional model and how our volunteer leader and committee roles fit together and fit into that model. For those of you familiar with the prior HBA operations, I'll point out some of the key differences between the old model and the new one. We'll start with a short overview of how we will operate, how we're set up as regional units, and how we'll interact with individual and company members to create the HBA value experience. Then we'll talk about the why we want to operate in this way, and why we think this approach brings greater value to you, our members, and to our volunteers. Beginning with January 2018, HBA will be operating in regional units. We are no longer a collection of 15 chapters. We have carved out 8 regions in the US and 1 in Europe to get us started. Each region will contain a collection of chapters and regional committees, which collectively provide the HBA experience in the region. And as you know, that experience includes networking, professional enrichment, leadership development, and of course, recognition, all of which fuels the mission of the HBA to advance the impact and influence of women. Looking at an illustration of what a region will look like, each region will be made up of a number of states if you're in the US, or a number of countries if you're in Europe. Each region naturally contains numerous healthcare and life science companies. Some of those companies are very familiar with the HBA and may actually be involved with us at some level, maybe even to the extent of being a corporate partner. Some companies may not be aware of us at all. Our goal with this new operating model is to put in place the means for us to more effectively engage more of these companies so they and their employees participate in the HBA. In addition, in every region are chapters, numerous chapters. Right now, there are a number of chapters, existing chapters in each region, and many of the regions actually also have a pipeline of areas waiting to get set up as HBA locations. Our new operating model, in the new operating model, we have redefined some of the activities of our committees, and we have created brand new committees to take on new types of work. Our goal with the new operating model really is to more effectively distribute and focus the work of our volunteers to accomplish our mission. To spread the work around as much as we can, make sure the volunteer experience is a good one, and make sure the delivery of value helps us achieve our mission. Talking first about our goal to expand relationships with healthcare companies in a region, this will be done using regional corporate relations committees. We've redefined the corporate relations, we've lifted it out of the chapter and made it a broader geographic role. First, there will be committees responsible for working with corporate partners who are in the regions and representatives from those corporate partners. That is the Ambassador Community Committee. And secondly, for all the other companies in the region that are somewhat involved or not involved with us at all, we will be using a Business Development Committee to work with those companies, to engage them and expand their relationship with the HBA. From a chapter perspective, as I mentioned, all regions currently have some chapters in them. We have redefined the scope of chapters, what they do. We have lifted some of the responsibilities of chapters out of the chapters and moved them into regional committees, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. And in doing so, we have reduced the size and scope of responsibilities of a chapter with the goal of enabling the standing up of many more chapters in many more areas much more efficiently and much more quickly. Our goal is to have chapters everywhere so that all our members have easy and ready access to events and programs close to them, close to their home. This model, a lot of chapters in a lot of places, Also creates a lot more opportunity for our volunteers to get involved as chapter leaders. Having regional committees do corporate relations will require a lot of collaboration and coordination across the chapters and across the whole region, because there will be regional committees who will also need locations and venues. The benefit of having regional committees is that those committees can more effectively expose the chapters to the companies in the area and what those companies are willing to offer or what those companies are looking for from an HBA relationship perspective. We will be using the concept of a program steering committee meeting, which involves various participants across the region to come together to share needs for events and programs and sponsors, with opportunities from companies and locations to best match up the needs for locations and venues with what's available in the region. So for those of you that are familiar with the way HBA used to operate, some of the first differences with the new model is that corporate relations is now a regional committee, does not sit within the chapter. Second, we expect to have many more chapters and have them be sort of more consistent in their size, and the scope of what they do is different than what it's been in the past. Some of their responsibilities have been moved into other committees. And thirdly, using the regional committees to better connect chapters and companies around event opportunities. This is not a new idea. This idea has been in place in many of the larger chapters for a long time. And it has proven to work as a really good way to bring the company opportunities to the event planning teams and the event planning teams' needs out to the companies. So looking forward to that to really help us have easier access and more access to venues and sponsors. All right, let's move on and talk about a different dimension of the new operating model, and that is the concept of regional committees. As I mentioned, we've lifted some responsibilities out of the chapters, and we're creating regional committees to provide those offerings to our members. This will be done for mentoring, our affinity group programs, regional summits. You can think of those as mini conferences, and then regional seminars, which is something new, half-day programs that we'd like to be offering to our members. Historically, these events have been planned and executed within chapters. Going forward, they'll be planned and executed using regional committees. This should enable more members to participate in these committees, expand the reach of our value to members by opening them up broader geographically. As a volunteer, being on a regional committee provides opportunity to you to work with members from across the whole region as part of a planning or an execution team, and also work with colleagues in your same role across the US and into Europe. We expect the regional committee volunteers to get really nice broad networking and industry exposure as they fulfill their volunteer responsibilities. So again, a notable change, a number of programs that had been offered and managed within the chapter structure are no longer in the chapter structure. They sit in the regional structure as regional committees. All right, let's talk about from a leadership perspective. From a leadership perspective, we have actually created a whole new level of leadership and leadership roles within the HBA. And these roles exist in each region. These are the roles that lead the region, if you will. This is the regional council, so these are the leaders of the region. You'll see at the top a chair, a deputy chair, and a treasurer. The treasurer is now a regional role. It is no longer a chapter role. On the left hand of the page, you see chapter presidents are part of the regional council, and of course they are managing their boards who create the plans and execute the activities for their chapter members. And on the right hand of the screen, you see under the blue boxes, which we're calling centers of excellence, collections of regional committees. These regional committees have been formulated into groups called centers of excellence, and they are led by a president. The different presidents have different numbers of committees under them depending on their focus. Okay. And additionally, also new in the model, the treasurer will have 2 committees underneath of her to help her execute the activities of the treasury function. And creating these financial roles is new to the HBA, and it gives us the opportunity to offer women in the finance field or women who aspire to learn more about finances to participate as a volunteer or volunteer leader in the HBA. Okay, so the remaining kind of what's new in the new model, for those of you familiar with the old, is that we have a lot more leadership positions. We actually have an additional level of leadership that is available to you as a volunteer. So you don't need to end your career when you get up into chapter leadership. There are a lot more opportunities for you to lead regionally and globally. We've created centers of excellence, as I mentioned, which organize the regional committees. And these volunteers interact both with the chapters in the region as well as across the region, as well as with the other regions in the US and Europe. And as I mentioned, the treasurer is no longer a chapter function, it's a regional function, and she'll have committees working with her or him to execute those responsibilities and support all the volunteers and the committees. So that's a quick summary of the new operating model. Regional structure, lots of chapters, smaller in scope of what they do. Regional committees doing some things that the chapters used to do, like mentoring programs and affinity programs. Corporate relations is a regional function. They really focus on the companies and understanding the needs of the companies and bringing those into the regional conversations to marry up needs with event planning teams with what's available. New leadership levels, new opportunities for you personally to grow. Let's move on and spend the last couple minutes just talking about why we think this is a good idea and why we believe this will bring more value to you as a volunteer and to our members. Based on the work of a lot of volunteers who participated in our organizational design teams to get us here, this model should really help us improve your experience. We really focused on figuring out ways to spread the work around, create meaningful chunks of work, but make sure they were also manageable. Making your leader and your committee work doable and fulfilling is clearly the goal behind the model. The regional model, as I mentioned, also creates a lot more leadership opportunities for you. You could move around the organization in new and different ways. It's not just a career ladder in the chapter structure, the chapter board structure, which it was a bit in the past. You can also think about, being a leader in a chapter and or being a leader in a functional area like corporate relations or even finance. Secondly, the model really is also designed to bring more value to our customers, and that is a combination of more in terms of volume, more consistency in terms of the HBA brand, and more opportunity to participate in events in more places. And then lastly, the new model with the spreading out of work and the redefinition of chapter expectations and the making it easier to open up new areas. We do believe the new model will help us accelerate growth, get HBA to be in more locations, in more places, more easily. Talking first about you, what's in it for you as a volunteer? Lots more leadership opportunities and opportunities that go beyond the chapter model. Secondly, options with regard to your leadership opportunities. You can choose to work locally or more broadly in a regional or global role. You can work more on strategy and planning or on implementation. So when you think about a broader, bigger organization, there are lots more ways for you to participate. So very hands-on and involved, or very strategic, more as a thought leader. Third, with regard to external relevance, we spend a lot of time making sure the structure and the titles fit together and represent the level of responsibility you have as a volunteer leader. We want to make sure that those titles are prominent on your biographies, on your bios and your resumes, and that you use them to get yourself the visibility and the credit you deserve in the industry for your contribution to the HBA. We really encourage you to seek to understand the new model and look for the opportunities that meet your needs for professional exposure or development. If need be, talk to a senior member in your region or someone on the staff to help you think through what volunteer leadership opportunities are best for you to develop you and to keep your career path progressing. Okay, for members, it's all about a lot more HBA comes to you, a lot more HBA is around for you, more programs, more networking, access to mentoring and affinity programs that maybe you didn't have in the past, and a lot of volunteer opportunities that you could get involved in. A lot of the roles in the regional model are virtual, so people can get involved without having to travel or show up, which is nice. For our corporate partners, we're really looking to deliver more value to them, for them and their employees, expanding the opportunity for their people to get involved, expanding the number and type of events their employees can attend regardless of where they sit. And with regards to the Corporate Relations Ambassador Committee and the Ambassador Program that we're rolling out, really looking to build strong HBA communities inside these companies and help them connect their different communities, HBA communities, together across the US and then into Europe. All right, so as we wrap up, just a reminder, HBA will continue to evolve as an organization and an association. We've gone from good to great in terms of an association committed to the advancement of women. Looking ahead with our new messaging as a united force for change, we aspire to move that needle in gender parity for women in all levels of leadership. And so we will continue to evolve our organization to support that goal. As a volunteer and a leader in this organization, you should be proud of the impact you are having on that goal. We thank you for your generous donation of time and talent, and certainly look forward to your continued participation in the operations of this association, fueling our continued innovation and delivery of value to our members and to you, our volunteer leaders. If you have any questions or you want to better understand the details of the new operating model, please reach out to any of the names shown on the screen. We're happy to spend time with you and your committee or your board to talk more about the model and how it works. And as you as a leader are moving through your onboarding sessions over the next couple weeks and months, you'll get more and more familiar with the opportunities the model provides. Thank you. Bye-bye.